Reporting to you with no bias. Informing you with no exceptions. Nothing but the facts. Let's get the truth together. We the people. We the voice. We are the news now.
So we are back. Thank you so much for tuning back into Really Woke Reports. I am Roxanne, the globalist denier, and I'm with my co-host, 007, and our guest for tonight, the amazing Derrick GRADENIGO. Now, did I say your name right, Derrick?
It's Northern Venetian. You did good enough. You did way better than the president did when he said it last month. He said Derrick GRADENIGO when it's actually Derrick, and it's an extra syllable in there, GRADENIGO. So it's like
GRADENIGO.
Yes.
Such a unique name.
Actually, one of 12 founding families in Venice, Italy. So if you do the research, it's very interesting. And before that, I believe they were in Romania or something of that nature. So I have an interesting roots, to say the least. But as you can see, like I said, a lot of people ask me, they'll be like, what are you? What are you? I have a very mixed race heritage. You know, my family came to Louisiana in 1760, and I have French, American Indian. If you look at my DNA, it's mostly Iberian. I'm sure you guys know what that is, Portuguese, Spaniard, that coast. So I like to call myself a racial smoothie. You know what I mean? I can fight for everybody. You know what I mean? If it's right.
We're all peas in a pod here.
That's similar to what Noel said, wasn't it? When I asked him, he said I'm like a cocktail. Myself, I'm a quarter Algerian. Okay. So my grandfather was Algerian, and Roxanne as well.
My grandfather was Egyptian, so yeah, we've all got an eclectic mix in us. I find that fascinating, Derrick. So we really want to get into the nuts and bolts of everything that's kind of culminated to where you're at with your life right now, because as we know, the mainstream media have been the enemy of the people for a very long time. That's been ingrained for an incredibly long time, and I feel that we're moving into a space now where your average person like us, you know, like average working person that's out there trying to do what they're doing, living their life to the best that they can, are starting to now question the narrative that the mainstream media is giving them. Can you give us a synopsis of pretty much how your life has gotten to be where it is now? Why are you into doing what you're doing now?
Well, here's the thing. So I basically grew up in a privileged lifestyle about 9 or 10 blocks away from Ronald Reagan at the beginning of my life. Got to see that portion of life. Had a tragic thing happen when I was 12 years old. My parents moved me to Texas. We lost everything. So I got to experience both worlds. And one thing I got to see in both worlds was that Black and brown people, regardless, had been trained to be in love with social currency instead of actual currency. And I started to watch how a certain group of leftists or democratic people were handing out cakes and pies with their left hand, but stabbing these people with the right hand. I watched kind of like anyone else would watch in a situation. If you're a 3-year-old kid watching your mom get beat, you know you're getting beat, but you just kind of live your life because there's nothing you could do about it. So I watched all these years, kind of like you guys, in this philosophical world of, I see what's going on. I know what's going on. How can I do anything? Like, I mean, I'd love to blow the whistle. But at the end of the day, when people blow the whistle on diseases, people blow the whistle, you tend to wind up missing, or you tend to wind up, somebody tends to wind up accidentally thinking you're a deer and shooting you in your backyard, if that makes sense. So I sat here and I was kind of like, what can we do? What can we do? Went through my life, became an engineer, counseled underprivileged kids for a while, worked with seniors for the VA hospital. I mean, pretty much a life of service, but still living my life, kind of like a bachelor of sorts, still going to Vegas doing my thing. And about 4 or 5 years ago, this guy showed up named Donald Trump. And I had been watching this guy ever since I was a kid. And that's what I told him when I met him for the first time a few weeks ago. I told him, I've been watching you since I was 5. And I've been watching this guy. And the reason I've been watching him was because when I lived that privileged life in Sacramento, to be totally honest, President Trump was the only white man I saw that was actually hanging out with Black Americans, and it wasn't a photo op. And what I mean by that is I'm hanging in, you know, I'm a young kid and I'm seeing there's segregation. It's not like racist, but there's definitely segregation. And the only white guy I would see back then that was hanging with Mike Tyson, hanging with Don King, hanging with Michael Jackson and the monkey on the plane, hanging with Rastafari, dance hall legends, Supercat, Shabba Ranks. This is Donald Trump, and he's not doing it for photo ops. So back then I was kind of like, wow, this guy is giving me hope here that, there are people out here that look beyond the surface and can say, look, this is about a man and the measure of a man rather than the color of his skin. And I told him that. I had a flashback when I met him, and I said, you know what? I remember you, so it bugs me. And I told him it bugged me. The video's online. I told him it bugged me that I would hear people call him a racist. I would hear people call him this, that, or the other. Mm-hmm. So like I said, this guy came along. I was doing videos at the time, just going, how we all do right now or back in the day, you're venting. And you're like, I know the truth. I know this is out here. I'm going to explode unless I get it out. So I guess I'll just do some YouTube. I guess I'll do Facebook because I have to release this sometime.
One way or the other.
Mm. Yes, I'm doing these videos and stuff. And I caught the attention of this girl named Candace Owens. And this guy, Charlie Kirk, who at the time in 2018, were doing something called a Young Black Leadership Summit in DC. So I decided to go. At the same time, this gentleman you may know, Kanye West, was just now coming out. And so it was almost like this hodgepodge of things was going on in America this summer, summer of 2018. It was like, starting to explode, and the liberals were going nuts. And they're like, wait a minute, we got to control this. Mm-hmm. So in October of 2018, we had this Young Black Leadership Summit. I sew up at that, and it was almost like if I could be totally honest, thinking back on it now, you don't understand in the moment. It's almost like if you saw the movie Avengers, mm-hmm. It's almost like the movie Avengers, because what happens is from 2016 or 2015 to 2018, you have all these solo acts who are kind of like in Arizona, in New York, who are in Florida, Texas. Yeah. They're fighting battles alone. Mm-hmm. They never really met. So in October of 2018, at this YBLS that was put on by Candace and Charlie Kirk, all these people meet. A lot of them had seen each other online. A lot of them knew of each other, but they met. And from that moment on, it was completely different. Because
it's like a spark, wasn't it? It was like a spark ignited.
You had the very first person I met was Brandon Tatum. So I met Brandon Tatum. He was like, oh, blah, 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 meet Brandon Tatum. I turn around in the lobby. Here's Rob Smith. So Rob, it's like Avengers, like Iron Man, Hulk, blah, blah. And all these people had followings, whether it's Texas, New York, Chicago. Turn around, here's Terrence Williams. So all these people. And so in that meeting, it became crazy, and people could feel the energy. You're an energy person. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're operating in your own energy, and you're battling people with their back on the wall, and you get used to it. When you get in a place with other people who've been trained for years to battle alone, it becomes this kind of crazy, illuminated energy. And so I was kind of like, wow, this energy is insane. You have all these people.
It's off the chart. It's off the chart. Yeah.
Remember at that first event, it was like the Amazing Lucas. It was like all these people, these YouTube people, the Hodge twins. I mean, it's just insane what was going on. And so from that point on, we kind of meshed together, and I decided, I was moonlighting for a while. I'm still doing my engineering thing, and I'm moonlighting back and forth. Then I got to go part-time. And then there was a point where, honestly, last year, I had to make a decision. And I said, am I really going to work? If I work and we lose this country, what's the point? So I went to my bosses, and this is what's really insane. You know how you could go to a boss and say, hey, look, man, I want to be the next Brad Pitt. So I want to be an actor. I'm going to move to Hollywood. The boss is going to be like, all right, get out of here, blah, blah, blah. I went to the bosses. I was like, look, you see me in the pictures at the White House. You see me over here with Dan Crenshaw. You see me over here, blah, blah. I got to do this full time. I got to go and try to save this country. My bosses literally, this is how different it is. My bosses were literally like, we know. Take whatever time you want. Your job will be here when you get back, because this is for the country. It is literally insane. The mindset of the people here in America, the people who are quote unquote woke and with the energies, they get it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Well, that's a bring up to where we're at now.
Oh yeah. No, you perfectly did that, Derrick. And I love how you chimed in on the energies there, because Double O, you can resonate with this as well.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know when people
Absolutely.
are just on that they're in tune. Maybe that's the best way of saying it. They're just in tune. You don't seem to clash. And every time that obstacle comes here, they go, sorry, let me get the door for you. And you go, what? Really? Come on. And that's when we get to the point where you kind of go, is that just a coincidence? Were they always going to be like that? Or is it part of the bigger plan? I don't think it's a coincidence that there's the culmination of the I kind of look at you guys as a bit of a powerhouse, because like you said, Rich has got an incredible love for Candy, so as I have, and Rich, I think Rich, if you just look at the camera now, and she's taken, by the way, she's absolutely taken, Rich, as you know. But yes, I think Candice be feeding the love on an international scale, because there's a lot of love for Candice. And even though we're not American citizens, yeah, we are sending our love from where we are, because we've been watching you for a minute. And Derrick, you know, I've been watching everything that you've been doing over the last couple of years. And as I said, I wanted to give the viewers and listeners a brief synopsis of why you've come to where you are just now. We've seen a lot of things in the mainstream media just now that are just straight up lies. Straight up lies. There've been things over the last couple of years that I know the mainstream media have completely turned a blind eye on. Try Christmas at Mar-a-Lago, all of that. Like they don't pay any attention to any of the love and appreciation that the President of the United States of America gives the Black community. I just want to bring up a moment, an amazing moment, as you called it, in American history, as Trump was honoring and praising the accomplishments of the Black community, of which you were a party of. Your image, I saw, was, you know, blasted all over the mainstream media. There's those images, as far as I was concerned, went viral. I feel that was one of the shots that was heard around the world, because you couldn't ignore it. And then what the mainstream media tried to do was taint it. For the viewers, if it's okay with you, I'm going to play them a couple of clips in between us talking about this, so I can give them a better synopsis, because a lot of people that are listening may not understand fully what we're talking about here. But as we know, the darker powers that be that are losing right about now, they want people divided in every kind of faction, creed, color, class, you name it. They want everyone divided. And what we saw from the outside looking in was the media jumping on this vibe of, oh, I know, let's try and make everyone racist again. And let's use Spike Lee as a catalyst. And so I feel like I have to ask the Spike Lee question, because other than David Harris Jr. and a couple of others getting on specific news shows, and we know who those news shows are, they're the news shows that will not be the partisan, horrendous people that don't deserve to be sharing a light on things. Well, what is your take on that whole scenario? Because we've got so much positive to shine a light on, but I feel it was their best chance at trying to put a blot on it. And
so let me explain how this works. And again, this goes back for your viewers, back to energy. And again, let me preface this with saying, we have to follow each other online. So before we leave here, we have to make sure I'm following everything you guys are doing. You have to make sure your viewers are following me, because this is the only way that we're going to get the information out. Now, I'm saying that for a specific reason. I'm saying that because they control the outlets right now. The only way we're able to fight back, and we want to fight back. See, that's the difference between the conservatives before and the conservatives now. So when Spike Lee, for those of you who don't know, she's referencing the fact that we took a picture where we were praying on the president. Okay? We took a picture where we were praying on the president. And so this has happened to us plenty of times. When Terrence Williams is doing something alone as a Black Trump supporter, they don't like it, but it's like, whatever. David Harris, we don't like it, but it's whatever. But when we get together, they feel the energy and they're like, oh my God, we have to stop this. In October, we took a picture. It was me, David Harris, Isaiah Washington, the actor from Grey's Anatomy, Rob Smith, Brandon Tatum, a few other people. We took this picture, and it was at the Trump, and it was 9 of us. And we called it the Unchained 9 and posted it. They were shocked. I wasn't. Within an hour, Roland Martin attacked it. Soledad O'Brien attacked it. The New York Times attacked it. See, I try to explain this to everyone, and a lot of people, I'm trying to get them up to speed. You have people together and you have those energies together, that is what explodes. And so fast forwarding back to the Trump picture that was taken in the cabinet room, my right hand is on Trump's shoulder, on the president's shoulder. We're praying for him. I knew what was going to happen. I already knew. I was like, man, this picture is about to explode or whatever. Within an hour, again, of them releasing it on AP, all of a sudden you have comedians, American comedians, black comedians coming out, Ari Spears, all these other people. Look at these tunes. Look at these whatever. Look at these blah, blah. Now we are physically, and it's on video. We're praying for the president. But they're coming out, blah, blah. So Spike Lee comes out, does a page on, he's doing something on, oh, look, master, making references to slavery. So I came out and I basically attacked Spike Lee on my Instagram and my Facebook. And I basically told him, how can he tell that to us when he's paid over $10 million in tickets to go see the Knicks, and they won't even let him in an entrance. He's getting treated like a slave. So I came back at him and I told him, at the end of the day, Spike, I brought up old Reggie Miller stuff, this inside stuff that Spike would know and Americans would know about Reggie Miller making him choke in the 90s. I brought it, full circle because what I want to express to people is this new conservative brand, we'll get in the dirt with you. Like, we want to get in the dirt, and it shocks them. It literally shocks them. They're used to fighting. Let me tell you the way they're used to fighting. Now, you guys probably heard of a guy named Ben Carson. Heard of Ben Carson, right?
I think I have, yeah.
Secretary of HUD. So he ran he ran for president, and basically he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Carson.
Love listening to him talking.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a quality guy, brain surgeon. You know what I mean? Like, he is a wonderful man. But if he's not going to get into a scrum. In other words, what I mean by that is, let me tell you the way this argument goes. Here's your liberal Democrat, here's your Republican, okay? We're fighting back and forth. The Republican is kicking your butt. Now, there's a crowd around you. You're fighting for the crowd, okay? Now, what's the liberal Democrat going to do? Once he starts losing, he's going to go personal. And he's like, well, your mama and your shit and whatever. Now, if you're high quality, you're Ben Carson, or whatever, you're not going to get in that fight. You're going to take your ball and go home because you're too classy. But you have to understand, to the crowd, it looks like you just got pumped, if that makes sense.
Yeah, total sense.
Now,
it does.
What happens now is you have these Candace Owenses. You have Charlie Kirk, who will pull up on your campus. He will pull up on your campus by himself with a chair and put, Donald Trump is great, prove me wrong, and take a camera out and film himself destroying people. This is like, the left is completely like, what the heck is going on? Who are these people? Because not only is the debating from this new right so good, when you haven't been sharpening your skills for so long, you can be the best sword fighter ever. If you haven't fought anyone in 10 or 20 years, you're not very good. And a lot of these left Democrats, they're kind of like, how do we fight? We haven't fought in years. So when you have a Candace that comes out and just reams you, new one, you're basically like, look, white flag, we don't even want to, or you have Brandon Tatum, me and Brandon Tatum showed up on a college campus in Houston, and Brandon started getting after somebody. It was two, and it was like 40 people around us. And one of the dudes, of course, starts getting beat. He wants to level up and kind of be like, okay, let's fight. Brandon's an ex-cop. He's like 6'3", 250. So he's like, what's up? And the dude's like, well, never mind. They're not used to it. They're not used to it. And this is what we kind of needed. This is what we wanted. And this is what we're bringing now to the table. So it's an epic thing going on in America. And I truly believe that a lot of the pictures, a lot of the videos we're showing, a lot of the stuff you're seeing in real time, I don't believe the founding fathers of America knew what was going on in the moment. Like, George Washington didn't want to be president. They had to go to his house after because he was the face they needed. And so basically during that time, they had no idea. But later on, these pictures, these things became history. Hindsight. I truly believe that those pictures of Trump with everyone praying on him, the pictures of whatever, they're going to live in museums right now. People don't understand what's going on. This change of the guard, it's otherworldly. Like it's hard to explain, but you guys understand because you're, like I said, I'm saying it again, you're energy people.
I'm my co-host there.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying. Change the guard, man.
Hey, look, it's energy driven, and in a sense, to be totally honest, it's almost out of Trump's hands. I always tell people a story. Look, I always tell people a story about Martin Luther and when the Lutheran Church, and he comes back a year later. He's like, "Hey, I want to talk about some things," and they're like, "Look, bro, the train's already gone." He's like, "But my name is on the church." It's like, "We don't care, bro. We got to move it." It's like right now, this train is moving so hard that even if Trump was like, blah, blah, we're like, nah, bro, you ain't going nowhere. You in the front of the train. You can't, it's over. The energy level is, you can't even get off, bro. Like, dang, blah, blah, blah. But that's
Brilliant
not.
analogy.
That's
Brilliant analogy.
He relishes in this. His sons relish in it. His daughter relishes in it. So they're very aware. When I was there and I was saying my prayer, I wanted to make sure they were very aware of, and you guys get this, the fact that there is such a PC culture, even in non-PC, to the point of where you say, okay, well, we'll have a changing of the guard, but we have to make it PC so that we don't cause panic or chaos if people knew the real truth. Now, let me tell you the problem with that. The problem with that is, even if you do that, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, those people can come back because they haven't been truly eliminated.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what happened with England and the banking system when it comes to America. They never fully eliminated them. They had the first Bank of England, the second Bank of England, and England was always trying to be like, oh, we're your friends, we're your friends. In the European banking system, we're your friends, we're your friends. And then here you go. Before you know it, now you got the Federal Reserve and you're kind of locked in with this situation. So for me, I kind of want them to be like, look, Mr. President, even if they tell you we're compliant, you got us, blah, 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 you have to unfold the full truth, bro. Like the full truth. And I mean the full. I mean, I don't care if it's Bobby Kennedy. I don't care if it's JFK. I don't care if it's
whatever it is.
Drop it all. Because at the end of the day, drop it all.
Truth and transparency is the only way forward now.
Full disclosure, because what they'll try to say, and you know this as well as I do, they'll say, okay, well, we have this guy that did wrong. It's like the Batman syndrome. You know, the new Batman movie where the DA did wrong, but then because they didn't want to make it seem like he was rogue, he died, so they made him a hero. You'll have these people to say, okay, we'll do something. We'll have this guy. We know he's a Benedict Arnold, but because he's passed away or we're going to put him in jail, we don't want to cause civil unrest to the people. So we'll remove him, but we'll give him a good storyline. That way everybody wins. No, everybody doesn't win there. Like, we need to know so that we can stamp out that for good so it doesn't rear its head in 9 years or 15 years.
So we don't have a Game of Thrones situation going on again.
Right.
No.
Right.
That's
No,
exactly
100%. And this is what now. How far are we along to doing that? I hope we do. I hope it's not a deal. I hope it's not a situation where it's like, we'll go ahead and have the turnover, but we'll do it in a way that doesn't cause a national, because what they'll do is, we can't do this because of national security reasons. For instance, I can't fully tell you the truth about whether Lyndon Johnson was involved with JFK's assassination, because Americans will literally go to the Space Center in Houston that's named after Lyndon Johnson and burn it down. So this is what the people on the handlers will say. Don't do it because this. And I'm trying to say right now, at the end of the day, man, like, to be totally honest, if you really want to set this thing right, you got to kind of do it. Because here's the thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, and Italy, you got to tell the full truth and kind of limit the chaos. Because
the chaos,
Because if you notice America, one thing people don't talk about when it comes to America, tell me some of the bad things they did in history, or the bad people they had in history, as far as government-wise. People in the world don't think about this. America has no bad people in history, but they do. But America does such a great job in their history books of saying George, everybody's great. That at the end of the day, now you have a situation where you have no reality. And when you have no reality, now every new person coming in can be blackmailed because you have to live to the perfect standard. And once we get you one time and get pictures on you, we got you. But see, the reason I love Italy, when you go to Italy, I see statues with Caesar. They still have statues standing up with Nero. And Nero's crazy. But they're like, look, this is a part of our history. It is what it is. And I mean, what? We have Hannibal. We have his head everywhere. I mean, he's, considered bad by some people. So why doesn't America have the same thing? Because they right now have this control system to where they're like, man, no one's done any bad. We have such as no, everybody is blah, blah. And we know this isn't true. This is why I go out of my way. When I talk about America, I say, I love George Washington. But he owned slaves. At the end of the day, and so when people look at it like, oh, you said he owned slaves, you must hate him. No. I still love George Washington. He was a sinner. He owned slaves. He thought it was right. But at the end of the day, we needed him. So I measure a man by his whole life through. Thomas Jefferson, great guy, needed him, but he basically got Sally Hemings, one of his slaves, pregnant. Come on, man. Everybody has good and bad. And
half saint, half sinner, like you say, half saint, half sinner.
Embrace that. Because if we embrace it, all of a sudden we can have a Trump who's basically not perfect, and you can't blackmail that guy. See, they need perfect people, because perfect people, I could come up to you and say, look, if you don't do what we say, we're going to put the dime on you. But Trump is basically like, you got Access Hollywood tape? Drop it. I don't care. And they're literally like, what the heck is going on? Who is this guy? And they're basically like, okay, so we have this on him. Donald Trump shows up to a debate with all Bill Clinton's accusers. This guy is literally a walking, awesome, just TV person show. It's insane.
He brings the A game each time, doesn't he? Each time.
He's epic and wonderful. And like I said, every person. Dr. Martin Luther King is a great guy. The last few years, they've been talking about how he may have stepped out on his wife. That doesn't change the narrative. Doesn't change the narrative of the man he was. Malcolm X used to be a pimp. Doesn't change the narrative on the man he was. So we have to start looking at people as humanistic. And the reason I like to do that, and the reason only reason I'm able to be in DC now, is because, look, man, I'm a human. They got pictures of y'all. If you go back far enough on Facebook, it's pictures of me partying with women in Vegas, hanging out, drinking at the Mayweather fight, this, that, and the third.
We've all got a past. We've all got a past, haven't we? Because it's brought us to where we are now. It's brought us to where we are now. I love that.
I think it's brilliant you saying that, because it's like Alan Watts says, and a plethora of other people as well. It's all about facing your shadow self. We are all sinners in some way. We've all stepped out of line one time or another, and I like to think that I'm a good person, and I know I've made mistakes, man. But I think it would be a terrible shame for somebody to judge me on that, because I've got so much potential for the future.
Said, the whole life judgment, the whole life, judge someone on their whole life.
I'm only 43, so I've made X amount of mistakes up until now, and thankfully, I've woken up to certain things now. And it's all about, everybody's got a bad side. It's about letting go and forgiveness, and all of those things, isn't it?
Think about how wicked and swamp-filled the system has to be for them. If you guys remember when they were trying to appoint the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Think about how wicked it has to be for them to say, we're going to go to we have to go all the way back to your yearbook. We're going to go to the notes in your yearbook, and we have proof that you threw ice on somebody in college. So that's the system we're running right now? This is how Manchurian it has become, to the point of where if you're not that perfect, because we need you that perfect, because we know no human is that perfect. We know we're going to get dirt on you some kind of way. And when we do, we're going to blackmail you. It just is the way it is. And so right now, I am all for 100% real people. Like, if you ask me right now, I want, like, for instance, Angela Stanton King, who is the woman President Trump just pardoned. She's a friend of mine in Atlanta. She's running. She's running, you know, immediately, and she got pardoned from prison. So I'm sitting here saying, look, we want real people, people who have lived real lives, who accept the fact that they were born in, you know, born sinners. They're trying to do right with you, whoever your maker is. They're trying to do right, and like you said, a good person. Some people, Jesus, Allah, Thor, Buddha, whoever you are worshiping these days. But I want real people. I don't want any Manchurian candidates. And we have to understand right now something. For those of you out there that are sitting here saying, this whole Trump thing feels kind of spiritual. I can attest to this. I can attest to this. I need people to understand. There are factions in the European banking system against Trump. There are factions in high-ranking hierarchies that are against Trump. There are people in China that are against Trump. The Democratic Party is against Trump. The Republican Party is against Trump. You see, Bert and Ernie are against, everyone in the world is against Oprah, LeBron, Beyonce. Everyone is against Trump, yet his power continues to grow. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, am I the only person that is seeing, you know, when you have a choice and God is sitting there saying, look, I'm moving in a certain angle. Am I the only one who's smart enough to see that all these attacks aren't working?
I think we're starting to be with you now, Derrick. I think more and more of us are starting to be where you are mentally now, because we're all starting to see that the fake mainstream media, their attacks aren't working anymore. They're starting to fail with making us believe, because that's what they did before. They made us believe that their narrative was what the majority think. They gave us they think this and they think that. But now we see the numbers that are at the Trump rallies. We see the numbers. There's no getting away from those numbers. So there's a lot of people that are looking at
those numbers. Guess what happens to those numbers now? Again, people already know what's going on. Guess what happens to those numbers now? Because now they're like, oh no, we have the corona, and so we can't meet anymore. This whole thing is deeper. It's basically Joe Biden can't get 150 people to show up at a rally. Trump has 50,000. All of a sudden they want to say, oh, the corona, you can't meet up anymore. Look, anyone who has any type of knowledge of anything or can smell a rat a mile away. You know, when we could get on more on the corona in a little bit, because what I like to talk about too, I want everyone to start thinking four-dimensionally. We say we think four-dimensionally, but if you actually stopped and said, okay, what is my common sense saying? They do not want you to think common sense. Closer to you guys, end of the world. Back in old Rome, what did they offer? Bread and circuses. Bread and circuses. Keep you watching. So right now, if something happens, you know what they do? Hey, don't pay attention. Adam Levine has got a new season of The Voice coming up in 10 minutes. Oh, wait. Don't pay attention over here. Tom Brady is going for another Super Bowl.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like, look over here. If we have the same situation, but if you actually stopped and thought for a moment, you would be like, something's really weird about this. For instance, in America, right now, we're talking about the coronavirus, which I believe is over 2,000 cases right now, 41 people dead, okay? I brought this point up the other day.
You did.
There is something called H3N2.
I'm going to put an image on the screen of your post if it's all right for the viewers so that they can read it as well.
It's the flu strain from 2017. It killed 80,000 people in America. It's the flu strain. Now, what I want you to imagine is, why did that not get any coverage? One. Two, imagine if they started covering it every day with a counter from the point it was 41 people all the way up to 80,000. This is what the media is trying to do now. Like, are we going here? Like, we're basically like, okay, we're going to go here. Now, when it comes to the coronavirus, at the end of the day, I feel like I said, they're like, oh my God, 70 to 80% of people are going to be infected. Okay, everyone already has the H3N2. It's what our bodies do. We collect these viruses, we grow from them, and we become more like Thanos. Like, it's what happens. But right now, if I told you right now, you got the flu virus, and your doctor calls you on the phone and says, you got the flu virus, you're going to be like, okay, I got the flu. But if I call you and I say, you have COVID 1722-333 virus, you're going to be like, whoa, what the hell, mama?
That sounds
No,
serious. Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what they're doing. They're basically like, oh my God, it's going to affect the elderly and the this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 and yada, yada. Where I'm sitting here saying, why didn't you talk about this in 2017 when it took out 80,000 people? Why weren't you so, when Obama was president and swine flu was going rampant, why weren't these precautions taken? Now, a lot of people will say Trump is playing into it. He's not playing into it. He has to do this because once the NBA and all these people that are controlled start doing this, he has to respond. It's like he can't just ignore it. He has to be like, okay, we're in this. Okay, let's do this. We got to go back and forth.
He said it, didn't he? In his when he was speaking the other yesterday or the day before yesterday, he said, "Well, we've been chucked into this, so we're going to have to
He did
respond."
actually. He said it like that. He said we've been chucked into it.
NBA does this once, or whatever. My question is, at the end of the day, who's not going to have the coronavirus? Like, because at the end of the day, if it's a new strain, and to be honest, the coronavirus has been forever. I'm sure all of us have a strain of the coronavirus that we have antibodies for. So at the end of the day, yes, there will be people that pass away. There are people that pass away, and I need people to understand, 80,000 in 2017 from flu or whatever. A lot of them are elderly people. A lot of people who have pre-existing conditions. A lot of people who probably got onset of pneumonia while they're in the hospital. I mean, there's a whole lot of things, but we're looking now, and what I think they're trying to do is you have to understand, when you live in a culture that produces fear, whenever you get any medical result that says positive, it scares you. So what they want to do now, they're like, we need to test, we need to test, we need to test. For what? And I'm honestly asking for what? Because you might as well walk around acting like you have it. Because here's the thing. If you're walking around and somebody says, oh, I need a test, you go get the test right now. How do you know when you're driving to Chick-fil-A right after, or you're driving to the store, you're going to get it then? So they want the test. They want the test for numbers. They want to spike up and scare people. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to be walking around with this particular strain, just like everybody within a year. 80% of people in America have the same flu strain. Mm-hmm. Some of them have effects, they don't. Some of them have antibodies and they don't. It's just the way it is. But we need to test. We need to test. For what purpose? So you can find out if you need to quarantine yourself and blah, blah, blah. Well, look, at the end of the day, I get a negative. 2 days later, I'm sitting in the mall and I have it. What was actually the purpose? I might as well act like I have it. Period. And what people are saying is, well, after this amount of time, you can, do this, or after this amount of time, you can do that. I was aware that once you had a virus, you build up antibodies that stay with you. So it's not like I've never heard of anyone getting a negative after having a virus. Once you have a virus, whether that is the STD viruses or whatever, no matter how much of time, that virus or those antibodies are still present in a blood test, to me, or are still present. So again, I have no idea why we need tests. We need millions of tests.
Yeah, they are pumping for it. They're pumping for everyone having tests to push those numbers up. I agree.
We know that those test results, but again, it's up to people like us to say, okay, we see those test results, but I'm going to show you these 2017 results from this H3N2 flu that y'all weren't talking about with 80,000 dead people. Mm-hmm. So, because I guarantee you, these numbers are going to be ridiculous and they're going to grow because, like right now, the mayor of Miami just said he's got coronavirus. Everybody is going to be everybody. Like it's going to be, they're going to LeBron, and then it's going to come one by one, just perfect, lot to hit people. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, the more we can do to say, look, this is the reality of people with antibodies. This is the reality of medicine. This is the reality of what happens. The better off we'll be, because the fear tactics are there. They're going to continue to try to pump the fear tactics. They're going to continue to press older people who aren't really, I hate to say that, older people who don't really think on this realm. They don't think, well, like older people are basically like, I watch Family Feud, I watch Jeopardy, I watch these shows, I watch my soap operas, and whatever Walter Cronkite tells me, whatever the news tells me, whatever the BBC tells me, that is the word of God. Those people right now, I am deadly afraid of, because I know there's people that I know personally who are older, who all they do is watch CNN. I turned on CNN for like 20 minutes earlier. It is literally, literally need a law against these
You're
people,
so right.
because
They're out of order.
practicing so much fear. I'm hearing them goat people. They're goading people. There are people on CNN who that's their job to kind of pump this up. There are people who even guests who are like, look, bro, we're doing a little much right now. Let me try to calm it down and say, blah, blah. And the CNN people are going harder. They're basically like, no, no, no. Well, that's lucky for you. If you can, but I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are hurting. And it's like, I'm trying to, if you go on my page, I'm trying to spin everything in a positive way. And even Trump's meeting today where he had Walmart, Target CEO, all these different people there showing the private sector. This hasn't happened because Donald Trump's a businessman. So these people fight. Well, a lot of people don't understand, like Walmart, they're competitors.
They've done the same in this country, Derek. They've done the same with Asda, Sainsbury's. They're now all allowed to share the information that they weren't previously allowed. They've got them all sitting down at the same table. And I'm agreeing with you. I'm going, what? Are we looking for self-sufficiency or something? What's going on?
What I'm about is 100% not relying on certain foreign interests and cut you off. And basically, like we're talking about earlier, basically foreign interests say, you do what we say, show up with a crate of money. Like I won't go into Obama, but show up with a crate of money in the middle of the night, or else we're shutting your whole system down. And so America, it really makes no sense to have the power that America has and still be leaning on countries that way. And that's what Trump has been saying since he got in office, whether it was trade deals that he ripped up, whether it's the Accords, whether different things. He's like, look, at the end of the day, we should be leading this movement. How are we getting played unless we're the slaves now?
It's funny you should say this because our Prime Minister's been basically saying exactly the same thing. And it's funny because, like we said earlier on, you know, if America sneezes, we normally catch a cold. Whatever America does, we pretty much follow suit. And we're seeing the similarities at the moment with our Prime Minister and your president. And he's being accused of doing a lot of things in this country that are Trumpy. He gets a lot of Trumpness from.
That's awesome.
It is. There's a lot of similarities.
Right now,
he's also.
But trust me, in history, like, see, and this is what people don't get to. A lot of people don't understand. They hear Martin Luther King, Dr. King. They don't understand. When Dr. King went to some cities in the South, do you know Black people ran him out? Because they considered him a coon. See, because during the same time, Malcolm X and other people were running around talking about by any means necessary, pull the guns out. This is about war, whatever. And Martin Luther King is like, no, we don't want that drama. We're outnumbered. We will die. Like up in here. And Martin Luther King is like peace, love, you know, all this other stuff. And when he came to certain cities, a lot of African Americans were like, you soft, you a coon, you a whatever. But ironically, isn't it ironic how a decade later, after his death, everybody universally now is like, oh, Dr. King, blah, blah, blah. It's hilarious how people, that's one of the things that I applaud you guys for, is because you can see the forest from the trees. And regardless some of the viewpoints that people may say, oh, I don't believe in all that energy stuff. I don't believe in all that self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't believe in all that, you know, this, that, or the other. And you sit here and say, okay, well, you stay over there and do that, but watch what happens. A lot of people have to understand, listen, you know, when I used to talk to you, I wasn't nowhere near the White House. Like, and I made no moves to get to the White House as far as like political, whatever. I was doing my thing and I was whatever. How does somebody who's simply doing their thing and kind of representing true energy, Donald Trump or whatever, there's a lot of people who might say that. I was just doing that, and all of a sudden, within a year, I'm not only I'm at the cabinet table, and
that's what I'm saying.
He's saying thank you on live TV.
Manifest that, dude. You totally manifested that, man.
Yeah, and that I second that. And really and truthfully, you didn't exaggerate just saying that. You've literally gone from just keep putting your best foot in front of your other, and you're sat at the table opposite the President of the United States, who I just want to let the viewers know, we have mentioned it once before this evening, but if you will indulge me for a second, Derrick, I want to say this specifically because I feel it needs to be said. The President said,
saw Derrick, I was moved, man.
Yeah, I'm going to put this on the screen.
It confirmed to me a bit about Trump as well. I feel he is a genuine guy.
Yeah, and I will put it on the screen, Derrick. I'm going to read out word for word so the viewers can all see exactly. I've taken this straight from your Instagram. Remarks by the President from the whitehouse.gov. The President, I know they are, and I appreciate you saying them too, but you really, that was beautiful. And where is Derrick GRADENIGO? Derrick, what you said, so beautiful. We won't forget it. Thank you, Derrick. Thank you, Derrick. Like, took my breath away.
Yeah, because it's literally, and my boy right here is laughing. You understand it. He does too. He can feel the energy, I could tell. But you understand it greatly because we conversated. And when we conversated, I wasn't even near DC. No. So for her to kind of watch and kind of like, this wasn't some grand thing where I called people or I'm the poli-sci major or a political science guy who made things. This just kind of manifested on its own.
Yeah. Those of us that follow you, we sought you out. We found you. We found you. You weren't calling us. No, we found you.
It manifested, and it manifested in the crazy part. Let me tell y'all something that's really crazy for you and your viewers. And you may have heard this on another, but it's no harm in repeating it. Mm-hmm. Everything that happened that day, we didn't know was going to happen. Now watch this. This is really wild because in DC, I wasn't even going to go to the event until a week before. It is a Black History event. For those who don't know, the East Wing of the White House is more reception based. Mm-hmm. West Wing is where all the drama happens, the meetings, whatever. So a lot of people go to the East. They've been to the East Wing 50, 100 times for receptions, but never go to the West Wing. So I'd been to the East Wing 5, 6, 7 times, and this reception was going on, and there was some talk in DC about elitism, and what's going on. Just like I'm sure it's probably going on in your area too. Mm-hmm. When someone like a Candace Owens shows up, and someone who's influencer, these energy people show up, the people who are already in DC get kind of threatened. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Total sense. Absolutely.
Mitt Romney is not just a one-off person. There are young people in DC too who've been in DC 8 years. They've been trying everything they can. They've been doing everything they can. They're not effective. No one knows their name. And basically they claim they're for Trump, but they're actually just kind of like right-wingers who never post about Trump. They never claim him, but they know people and they're in the right position. Now, what you have to understand is, now take this girl, Candace. She shows up out of nowhere and basically in a year becomes this mega star. Do you think those same people are going to be like, let's promote Candace or let's Candace, even though they're supposed to be on the same side? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, what they're saying is, well, we kind of think she's cool, but what if she brings 30 more Candace personalities from all around with her? We might be out of here. So in that process, there was some talk about, man, should I go to the White House? Should I not? Because there's some elitism going on, and, I want to go, but the establishment people and this, that, and the other. So invites were going to certain people, but not other people. So a week before the event, the White House calls me and says, hey, we want you to come to the event. I was like, you know what? I'll show up, big thing. So I show up at 24 hours earlier, I get an email. The email's from the West Wing. And the West Wing says, the president wants you to show up 24 hours before. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, what is going on? I'm freaking out. Like,
wow. Are you all right for us to share that image from your Instagram as well? The one that you shared on Instagram? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Did you share Okay, cool. We'll share that for the viewers so they can see as well. Carry on, darling.
You can share whatever. I'll give you a bunch of images. But so this is 25. So I called back because I was nervous. And I said, look, is this a meeting or something? Because I want to be prepared. They're like, no, this is a photo op. So I immediately, just like you guys have seen, I was like, okay, this is going to be that half moon photo op around Resolute desk. You know, the president always does that photo op. Yeah, with the people around. I'm like, okay. So we get there. I'm like talking to David Harris Jr., Rob Smith comes in, Diamond and Silk, Terrence Williams, you know, the whole shebang. We're all there. They open the door, and it's not the Oval Office, it's the cabinet room. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, no one had been, we had been informed. I'm like, what is this about? We walk in, and, you know, there's the table with chairs and nameplates.
Right.
So there's also chairs around the room, you know, against the wall. I'm like, oh, this is great. I must be one of these guys on the wall, because I don't know.
I'd be thinking the same.
On the wall must be like in the back here. I get to watch. This is great. I'm still going to brag about it. And at the end, my name plate was on a chair, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And now keep in mind, we haven't been informed of anything. We're just sitting there. So we go and sit down. Check this out. We go and sit down. And so I'm like, okay, do I talk? Do I not talk? You know, the feeling they're doing. So the president comes in, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll say a little something to impress him, but maybe I'll write it down. First thing he does, comes in, and the video's online. Talks real quick, and then he says, okay, bring the press in. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, and all this press comes in. So I'm like, I know I'm not going to talk right now. I'm not going to talk because I don't know what this is going on. I don't know if the press are going to try whatever. So the first thing out of the president's mouth, check this out. First thing, he's like, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table, and each person is going to say it. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, here we go. All bets are off. So as it comes off, everybody is shooting from around the table, their spill. And this is online if people want to see it. They're shooting from their spill. And everybody, Angela was there. She gave the prison spill, like about her being in prison. Martin Luther King's niece was there, and she gave her spill. Terrence Williams, Rob Smith. And it's crazy because it almost looks like it's scripted, because everyone's hitting different spots, but God is basically moving the room. Like, it's crazy because everybody has a different spill, and no one knows, and they're just hitting. So it gets to me. I talk about how, like I told you guys, about how the president was one of the only guys I seen when I was young, and how crazy it is that guy I was emulating and kind of looking at has now brought me to the White House. And it was crazy energy. Like, he was just violated. Like, it was violated in an awesome way. So after, we sit here and we're like, oh my God. So they're like, okay, let's get up and do a prayer. So when we get up to do the prayer, we sit there. I put my hand on his right shoulder. And then if you look at the thing, my hand's on his right shoulder, I'm praying. And I swear, I was telling people in the thing, I could feel like wind. It was like wind, like basically moving. Now the camera people are in front of us on the other side of the table. Now, what Saturday Night Live tried to make fun of was we all are praying with our eyes closed, but the president's looking straight ahead. So they tried to make it like he wasn't praying or he didn't bow his head. But I have pictures that you could show too where he is bowing his head. They just caught a moment where he's looking up. He bows his head at one point. At one point, he's holding Terrence's hand like this. But what they wanted to do is show the picture where he's like mean mugging, and then like basically like, but what they didn't understand was the media is across the table from him. This same media, while we were giving our roundtable, one of the camera guys was like, I'm out of here. He's like, I'm out of here. That's how wicked. Like, I'm telling you, this is real. The camera dude was like, I'm out of here. And President Trump called him out while he got up. Like, he was basically like, oh yeah, we see what you're doing. We see you leaving, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. They're just going to leave. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're like, we don't want to see this anymore. We don't see all this good talking about him. Like, we out of here. Like, and I'm like, whoa. So I have my hand on his right shoulder, and he's basically looking at the camera. But what people don't get is that just happened. So when he's looking with that mean mug, he's not looking at them saying, oh, I'm so good. He's looking at the camera people basically like, you can't stop me. Like, there's nothing
can stop it.
He's got
Nothing.
It makes it so epic. If people knew the story is like, he's saying, like, you have to film me. Look around me.
Yes.
It's so epic. So we go into the Oval Office. We go into the Oval Office after the president actually calls me into the Oval Office. with a bunch of people, all of us. We go in there, we take the pictures, we go in the back room. He gives me basically this hat, which is the official president hat. It's not a MAGA hat. It's the official hat, and he signed it here on the bottom, if you can see.
Oh, look at that, Derrick.
That's awesome. And so we go in and basically start talking. I mean, he's like, cordial. We making jokes and doing all kind of stuff. He made a joke with me about Don King. Like we were talking about Don King and other stuff. It was just epic. And then after the fact, you know how, like I said, when you're in the moment, you're on that floating thing. Mm-hmm. And after the fact, you could come down and process. Mm. So we were walking to the East wing now for the actual event. Now, everyone in the event is already there. You know, they're already there. So we just look like we're showing up late because nobody knew this was happening.
Right,
nobody
of course.
Knew. So we look at, so people are like, oh yeah, you guys get in the back. You guys in the back, you know, the influencers, blah, blah. Now keep in mind, everybody there in that table, David Harris, Diamond and Silk, Terrence Williams, they're not establishment people. We were all this spirit-driven influencers. This is who Trump, watch where I'm going. He's basically like, I see what's going on. I know who's actually saying my name. I know who's putting their life out here. And so we go into the event. There's a bunch of establishment people, this, that, the other. He starts giving his speech. During his speech, he name drops someone at the table. Then he name drops another person from the table. Then he name drops another. By the time he got to the fifth person, I was like, is this guy really going to say my name? I was like, is he going to say my name during this speech? Sure enough, he's like, did that part you heard? It's like, where's Derrick? Well, I literally was in the crowd, like basically in the room. We were in the room in Eastern. I was like floating. I was like, I can't.
I was going to say, did you feel like you were like levitating like off the ground?
Looked. So you have to understand, everyone in the room looked. They're basically like, what's going on? Because how are these influencers, how are these people getting shout outs? Mm-hmm. And I think honestly what the president was doing was he was letting not only us know, but he was letting the establishment know, look, these people ride with me for real. Like they are putting their names, they got thousands of followers and this, that, and the other. And so
no blackmail, no money laundering. This is the truth with free, selfless love for saving.
Right, and no establishment. So it's basically like they're claiming me. They're claiming me because you have to understand there's a lot of people there that are like, we are with Trump, but they could be considered Mitt Romney type people. So they work with you and they whatever, but when you actually look at their page, they never post about Trump. They never post about whatever. They just like, we're glad the right wins. Well, almost like safe. But in this climate, I think the president understands safe isn't going to cut it anymore. I need to know who's loyal because there's so many snakes out here trying to do whatever that I'm going to have to choose loyalty right now in a business sense. Like my old business tactics when I was running business, I'm going to have to go with the loyal people because these people are loyalists. Yeah, so you may appreciate the brand, but I can't trust you, you know? So there's all that too. And so again, a lot of people have asked me, like, are you nervous having your face on Saturday Night Live? Are you nervous being seen with the president? Are you nervous being at these TPUSA events, these Blexit events? And the honest truth, I will give y'all the honest to God truth. Honest truth is I never served my country in the military. I never served. I never did anything. And I ran into a general one day and he was like, you know what you're doing? You're doing just as much as a lot of my soldiers in the military because you're putting your life on the risk. You're putting your whatever on the risk, your safety. He's like, you guys are just as much military as we are. And it really took me because I had to really stop and think about it and kind of be like, this is really tripped out. And I appreciated it. And I had no fear from that point because I just felt like God's with me, one, the energies are with me, two. And third, when you watch the president, you can't, it's weird. It's like, have you ever been in a situation where you've had an older brother or older sibling and it's a nervous situation, but they go in real tough and it makes you tough? You can't feel like you watch them and you're like, well, dang, if they go in whatever, I got to go. When the president, you know all this stuff against him, and if he still starts popping off, you're like, well, dang, I mean, let's do it. If he's popping off, I'm gonna pop off too, and I'm not scared because he ain't scared. You know, so let's go. It's the true definition of leadership.
Reporting to you with no bias. Informing you with no exceptions. Nothing but the facts. Let's get the truth together. We the people. We the voice. We are the news now.